Upon a time after the child had heard the story of the Anatman Drive, it means told in the language of stories. The child nodded, and the tree began. The little lantern that never went out. In a village at the edge of a big whispering forest lived a small child who carried a tiny lantern. The lantern's flame was very gentle. It didn't shout or try to light up the whole world at once. It simply stayed lit, warm and steady no matter what happened around it. Every morning the child would step outside. Sometimes the mind would run off like a playful squirrel chasing thoughts about yesterday's spilled porridge or tomorrow's big storm. The child would get lost in the worry woods for a long time, but then the child would remember the lantern. They would stop, take one slow breath and look at the little flame. "Oh," they would say kindly, "there you are." And the lantern would answer by shining a little brighter on whatever was right in front of them. The feel of their own feet on the path, the sound of birds, the cool air on their cheeks. The lantern never got angry when the child wandered. It simply waited, always ready to be noticed again. That is mindfulness, the gentle remembering to come back to what is actually happening right now, with kindness instead of scolding. The squirrel who learned to return. Deep in the same forest lived a very busy squirrel. His name was Flick. Flick's mind was full of acorns he had hidden, acorns he might hide tomorrow, and stories about whether the other squirrels liked him. One day Flick met the child with the lantern. "Every time I try to sit still," Flick sighed, "my thoughts run away like 100 squirrels." The child smiled. "That is what thoughts do. They are like leaves floating on a river. You don't have to jump in and chase everyone. You can sit on the bank and watch them drift by." Flick tried it. He sat on a warm rock. When a thought about a missing acorn came, he didn't fight it. He simply whispered to himself, thinking, and looked back at the lantern's flame. The thought floated on. Another came. He said again very gently, thinking, and returned to the flame. After a little while, Flick felt something new. He wasn't as tired. The river of thoughts was still flowing, but he didn't have to swim in it all day. Mindfulness is not about stopping the river. It is about learning you can sit beside it and still be safe. The wise old house with many rooms. The child's own body was like a big friendly house with many rooms. Some rooms felt warm and sunny, some felt tight or stormy. Most days, the child only lived in the noisy front room where the worries shouted. One quiet afternoon, the lantern whispered, "Would you like to visit the other rooms?" Together they walked slowly through the house. They noticed the floor under their feet, the toes room. They noticed the soft rise and fall of breath in the chest room. They noticed a tight spot in the tummy room and sent the lantern's gentle light there without trying to fix anything. "Hello, tight spot," the child said softly. "I see you." The tight spot didn't disappear right away, but it felt less lonely. The whole house felt more like home. Mindfulness is visiting your own body with friendly attention room by room without needing to change anything first. The little bear and the lantern. Remember the bear who used to stand at his cave with a big stick, roaring because he believed he was the broken bear? One evening, the child with the lantern came and sat a little distance away. The bear growled, "Go away, I'm too broken for visitors." The child didn't argue. They simply set the lantern down between them and said, "I brought a little light that doesn't mind broken places." They sat together in silence for a while. The bear noticed the flame flickering. He noticed his own big paws. He noticed the angry thoughts stomping around like heavy boots. Instead of believing every thought, the bear tried what the child had shown him. He whispered to the angry thoughts, "I see you," the way the child had spoken to the tight spot in the tummy room. After some time, the bear put the stick down, just for a little while. He could still feel the old story of broken, but the lantern's light showed him something else too. He was also the one who could sit beside a friend without roaring. He was also the one who could feel the evening breeze on his fur. The bear discovered that the lantern did not make the broken places vanish. It simply made it possible to be kind to himself while the broken places were still there. That is how mindfulness and self-compassion walk together. The cloud who stopped arguing with the wind. High above the forest, the little cloud from the earlier story was still learning. Sometimes he tried very hard to stay one perfect shape so everyone would know who he was. One day the wind asked gently, "What happens if you stop arguing with me for 3 breaths?" The cloud tried. He felt himself beginning to change shape. Instead of panicking, he noticed the changing with the same kind attention the child used with the lantern. "I am becoming rain," the cloud noticed. "I am becoming part of a bigger sky," he noticed next. He was still the cloud. Only now he didn't have to spend all his energy protecting one single shape. The wind became his friend instead of his enemy. Mindfulness helped the cloud see that he was never only the castle he had been pretending to be. He was the water, the movement, the returning again and again to whatever the present moment asked of him. How the lantern helps the Anatman Drive. The tree finished the stories and said to the child, "The Anatman Drive is the quiet invitation to stop organizing your whole life around protecting one fixed picture of yourself. Mindfulness is the lantern you carry on that drive. Every time you gently return to your breath, your feet on the ground, or the sound of the wind, you are practicing not being a prisoner of the old story. You are practicing being the one who can notice the story without having to believe every word of it. You can still have a personality. You can still have memories and favorite colors and days when the bear inside you wants to roar. You simply don't have to spend every moment defending the picture. That is how trust grows. That is how the armor gets lighter. That is how light finds its way through the cracks in the statue." The child sat very still under the tree. They could feel their own breath, steady and kind, like the little lantern that never went out. The green swirling shapes on the leaf seemed to move in time with the breathing. Somewhere far away but very near, the podcast was still being born, not as loud instructions.